Okay. It says we're live here. I've just got a message saying we're live. Yeah. Good. Good, good. Got your technology worked out much better than I have. Oh. Pretty well over in here in England. Thank you very much. It's 6:15 p.m. and now on British summer time. It is about 5:15 British time or UTC. Yes. It's really funny time you have. If we go forward and backwards in time. Yeah, well. Yes, there we go. So, we wanted to discuss free speech, I think. That was correct, wasn't it? Yes. Good, good. I did have a couple of, just one or two comments on our last session, if I may, before we get going. Okay, just to clarify a few things. So I had a bit of an idea. We're talking about the poor state of our relationship with journalism and academia. We pretty much agree that our relationships to both professions were not the way we like them. Is that correct? Journalism and academia, broadly speaking. Yeah. No. The problem with academia was a problem of being a bit arrogant and having legitimacy in the kinds of inquiries they were pursuing, being telling us what to do, what to think, what to feel, kind of language we can use, what we can't use, dictatorial, tyrannical, that kind of thing. We talked about that with respect to Jordan Peterson and trans rights and things like that. That's where the whole just AW thing is coming from. You think it's kind of emanating from that? Kind of overactivism, over zealotry, over something, not quite right. In any case, and we also had a few words about the lack of good journalists and good journalism, and the media not really doing journalism as we want to understand it. For example, all the online channels are really just commentary, aren't they now? CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all the rest of them, just doing commentary. They don't actually do journalism, don't actually investigate anything very much, just have talking heads on. So they don't actually dig up stories or research them or anything. No. Yeah, that's right. I think it was actually your moderator, Eldritch God, who's actually said something about cable media going downhill because of CNN. The business with CNN and the wrestling. He was trying to establish a link there, I think. Remember the Trump meme with the wrestling meme with Trump? Do you remember that? Supposed to pass you by. I think I'll just come with the deterioration of the standards of journalism. Journalism actually trying to compress free speech of the guy who actually made the meme. So anti-free press, free press, anti-free speech, free press. Yes, strange times. So I think it's what you say. I mean, we have different media over here, of course. The BBC, which is a very different kind of organisation. We have several cooperative newspapers or independent newspapers. We've got one called The Independent, the one called New Statesman, another one called The Guardian. They're all left-wingy or centre. No one on the right, I don't think. Whether you know any kind of cooperative news outlets which are on different lines for the sake of the public on the right. Yes, you mentioned it last time, yes. Yes. But mostly it's entertaining. Well, I'm not sure I go in the same vein, sceptically, and I don't really think anymore, but she's very entertaining. Hard have it to break. But none of it's new, none of it's news. It's just entertainment. It's clickbait, it's froth, it's bubble, it's nothing much. Journalism I usually read The Economist for, but don't know about you. Would you read much? Do you read news? Oh, yes. I can check it out from 5 different angles. Yes. Yeah. We've got the pictures from left, right, centre, top, bottom, trigonometry it and interpose it and intercalate it and come up with your own view. Yes, I think. So that's it. Which I think is very healthy. Oh my goodness. Well, yes. Yes, they all have bias and they all have, some of them declare it and then try to say they don't have a bias, which always amuses me, especially when they're very biased. Of course, you don't quite get the whole plethora of the left-right spectrum where you are because America is not too far on the left, I don't think. Not too many publications on the way left. I don't think you've got anything like The Guardian or The New Statesman, for example, because they're full on socialist papers, pretty much. Don't know if they've got anything like that in America, I don't think. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. 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 Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, yes. The advertisements are the real thing, which of course, as a socialist libertarian as well, I take objection to, because of course you can't serve mammon and God in the same time. In my book, as it were, if you're going to actually first serve the public, you can't advertise this, because there's a completely split set of interests. The interest of advertisers can never be the same as our interests. Yes, absolutely. Yes, exactly. It's the ratings battle which has been going on for ages and ages. You can't. If you go for the ratings, you're going to end up with opposed to emotion. It's just inevitable, because that's what sells, isn't it? And with working people busy, not got much time to think things through, or sit down and debate and do this. Because well, as you're finding out, soon you get married and have no time at all. Uh, um, so this is kind of a different kind of period of life, really. It's also very different because I've been I did get married, so I had a lot of time to think. Probably too much, but yes, but media is just very bad, very bad getting there. BBC, of course, I always come back to, because they don't have advertisers as such, and they do have got a very different kind of approach to ratings. Or they have to stay popular. There's no immediate urge to make every single program and every single foot of film and every single second of screen time pay off. It's very awkward kind of organisation, very funny-taking in its ways, but you can go back to it for some kind of solid touch, I think. You have public service broadcasting. You have public service broadcasting, don't you? PSBR? I don't know them well. Funding. Yes. That's actually true. And it's actually true. You get far more linkage to original sources than you ever get in a news story on The Guardian, for example. I'd have 2 or 3, 4 links in The Guardian to original sourcing. But you take a good YouTube channel, get 4, 5 or 6. Usually, people actually list them out for you. You can actually go and check. So it's actually true. Yes, I don't think we get the quality of journalism. I don't think on YouTube that you do get in a professionally produced paper, but you don't certainly get the legal aspects covered. People aren't nearly as cautious as they would be if they had to actually going to be called to account for it for defamation and so forth. I don't think anything like as careful from that point of view as, say, a BBC or BBC One or BBC Two or any major channel, because of course I don't have a great big business. It's got massive numbers of followers. I think one of your channel, your cable news networks has about a couple of million. Or big channels on, or PewDiePie's got far more than that. So that's a one-man bag. with bigger news platform than CNN or SNBC or any of them. Yeah, which is phenomenal. And no rules, of course, which scares me to death. But I guess you like that probably. And of course, it's all built on from his prowess with games, of course. That was PewDiePie's reach, wasn't it? It was testing and scoping out games, wasn't it? Reviewing games. Okay. Yes, which lots of people do. Yes. Yes, you've got a lot of, you got to original footage from the game. Original. Yes, it does. Yeah, copyright is one of the big barriers, yes. 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 Because there has to be that provision so that the filmmakers can get their bucks back, because you need people to review it, and so that's why the fair use is probably interpreted that way, I guess. Yes, indeed. Tutorial, yes. Tutorial, in other words. Yeah. No, it's just a constant bug. So there are these the internet, of course, is a massively free medium, or was to begin with. It's getting more and more rules as it goes along. I don't know if it's inevitable, but certainly different from where it started off. I remember the wild days. I was getting into the internet stuff about 1989, I think. It's my first internet chat. But anyway, so I go back to the real wild days. There's no real web or anything like that. No rules. You had to call a pen to get people did a UP number. So that's how far I go back. Yes, but it's strange, isn't it? Because it's a very free medium, but always blocks and circles all these sort of commercial interests getting a handle on it. Got monetization, it comes up with its own set of rules, and you monetize or you're not monetized. It's got this thing now where you've got a new set of rules now, which can actually effectively submerge a video behind a wall. Have you heard of this? You can actually take your video and put it from your public content to a limited issue content. We can't have comments or likes or other interactions with the public. So you get very low. That's what they're using for ISIS type videos and things like that. Which everybody's up in arms about, because they think that it could be used as the hot hand to the censor. Of course, it's all on commercial platforms. It's not on public platforms anymore. Because you have to use these massive providers of media and of we use Google, or we use Microsoft or whatever, and we have to use an internet service provider. And now we have to use the social media as well, just to talk to each other. It's free speech. It's a freedom of speech which we never thought we'd got. It's overlaid with all these kind of interests. By the way, did you see the article which I linked you through about the way that YouTube is used for propaganda purposes, all this fake news business of creating fake news stories. Yeah, which is frightening. And yeah, it's frightening really, but it's also fascinating. It's the fact you can actually create a whole. It's like having an infinite set of infinite sets of monkeys who can come up with any story you feel like. So they're just trying it all past the net, and whichever story gets picked up, that's the one they run with. So it's like that sort of base of journalism. There's no truth in any of it. It's just whatever sells. Literally, whatever people click on, that's what gets boosted. Well, it is. It's all on Facebook. It's on YouTube rather, because that's where the images are stored. And as we said last time, the image is much more powerful as a persuasive tool than speech or writing. So there's a lot of it's on YouTube. So all these fake voices that you come across every now and again, which you've got a digitized voice reading out a news story, that's being artificially concocted. It does. Yes. That's where you come across. Yes. Yes. Suggest the final form of that is actually the lie, the outright call to violence by lie. If you say that someone is evil, nasty, wicked, and thief and liar and a no good, ... and people believe that, they act upon it. Well, who's responsible really? For example, well, Pizzagate. So it would be the obvious example there. Sure, there's ones on the left as well because of Maureen and Stevens. But that guy actually brought the fact that Hillary Clinton was running an underground paedophile ring from underneath the Pizza Hut Palace, and took his gun to find out. Very responsible citizen, but doing the right thing in many ways. But he's got hold of some bad information, which he's absolutely completely persuaded of. Of course, it doesn't mean that there isn't a Pizza Palace. She's not in paedophilia, but he believed it on a false basis. He was sold a false prospectus. So Fritz, yes, yes, basis, yes. It appeals to emotion. appeals to emotion, and very dangerous for that. Very dangerous for that. It's just a question of who's pulling the strings there, really. As long as the advertiser's pulling the strings, all I know who's paying too much out of our pay packet for games or computers or whatever it might be. But it's people who are with a political bent to serve. Well, there's almost no end to how much. We've got all this sophistication of technology. You can put across the crudest messages, the greatest possible self-sophistication. It's dangerous. The same things which lure people into buying Apple products. So kinds of things, kinds of means by which they lure them into buying Trump or Clinton or whatever else they want to sell. And it's frightening. So where are libertarians at in that? I don't know. No, of course you don't. Where just you as a libertarian? What free speech equality is very important to you guys, but it isn't all that way. You can tell I get a political result. I don't know. Or even satire, which I think is even more dangerous because the satire you don't know what's true and what's real and what's not. There's no way to hold anybody to account for what they're saying because they're Pizzagate person could say, no, that wasn't real. That person took me out of context. He only believed me because I was really just trolling. Oh, yes. No, it isn't. No. Yes. Yes. You have the saying, jump the shark. Is that correct? Jump the shark and then gone. She should not be. And yet people can satirize and get away with it. I know the classic case of Sargon, but I don't want to concentrate on him because lots of people are doing it. They all say, well, they'll put across an attacking. Maybe like I know his classic one was, I won't even rape you, Jess Phillips MP. Claimed he was a troll afterwards, but I think she knew it was a troll at the end because he's a very sassy Northern British MP. But no flies on that one. But if someone else did that to an actual real naive rape victim, what else would they make of it? I wouldn't even rape you. Goodness gracious me. But it's a satire to him, not necessarily to all his fans, but to him, it's a satire. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yes, absolutely. If you look at the Society of Professional Journalists Code, you'll see in there it says that satire must be completely, utterly separated clearly. Must be overt line between it and commentary. So commentary and satire must be completely separate. You can't just have two columns right next to each other. One's satire, one's commentary, and the two can merge together. I think they've had experience over the years with newspapers who've done that, and people have tried to believe the satire. I think a classic case would be the Orson Welles broadcast about Mars attacks, Mars invasion. Do you remember this? Orson Welles back in the 20s. He had a big radio show. She did a mock-up of a Martian attack that would appear on the radio, and everybody believed him. Caused chaos. So I think after that, they've got a Society of Professional Journalists after a while said, no, you must completely clearly demarcate between commentary and satire. So I think episodes like that should really resulted in that rule. So I think on a wider basis, they've introduced that code of ethics. Is that a way forward, do you think? All journalists and all news outlets should be made compelled to follow that code of ethics? Is that something a libertarian, you as a libertarian, could live with? I mean, it's underwritten as not as necessarily a law, but as an expected code that the audience could call to account for in its entirety. Yeah. Yes. 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 That's absolutely yes. So what you're doing in HG World is yes. So the broadcast of HG World was updated to 1930, whatever it was. Yes, that was what Orson Welles did. Well, I don't know about that, but it certainly caused a lot of chaos. It was picked up in the press and probably hyped with, so I don't know how much of that was fake news. That people actually did kill themselves, or it was just more hype upon hype. Yeah, it still caused an awful lot of chaos because people believed him and because he didn't have clear demarcation between satire or performance and newscasting. Come on radio, sounding like a broadcaster, behaving like a broadcaster, saying the kinds of things which a news broadcaster would be expected to say. And people believed him because he's Orson Welles. Got a lovely voice. Yes. I think the Code of Ethics is actually a pretty sensible document. It's got things like right of reply, which you very rarely do on YouTube. You very rarely put out a YouTube response and check with the person who's making you that to make sure we don't have any factual errors in or just so they can have real cost at the same time as the news piece goes out. So you can do a hit piece on Thunderfoot or Sargon or the other people, or they can do a hit piece on somebody else, like Bearing will do a hit on some minor channel. There's no hint of them letting them have an equal sale or even get their say in, or even know that they're writing a story about them. See what I mean? So there's those protections built in. There's also kind of various ethical protections like vulnerable people like children and so forth and so on. I think we have gone a long way away from that code of ethics now in mainstream journalism, certainly in my country. There were very many famous examples when the news media just gutted families, just abused people's faith in most horrible ways. To give an example, there's a famous case of a young lady called Millie Dowler, who committed suicide or something, and the newspaper got hold of a mobile phone and pushed messages on it as though they were coming from Millie. And the parents picked it up. Amazing behaviour. That really that's what tore it with a lot of people in Britain, I think. That kind of behaviour. I don't know. I know that your press is pretty rough, but I don't think it gets quite that rough. Just to get a few more copies circulated. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it really does. There's barrier between the private sector and the private private world and public world, which is really a loss of part of what libertarians would deny is that everybody has public duties. So it's I think libertarians would usually be against public duties. Is that correct? So I'm not sure how you make that really, because you've got a responsibility to interface with the public, to manage that interface between the private sphere and the published sphere, as it were. I don't know how a libertarian really negotiates that. How do you do? Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, I think it's mostly a row, isn't it? Libertarians over there. Not bad, not that good here. Of course, I'm more of a socialist, social libertarian, social anarchist, or anarchist, as I would say. So it's on a different kind of world there. Yes, we don't run governments. Well, saying I'm a bit like you. I've moderated my views over the years. So it's all rather theoretical for me now. But I suppose technically I'm still an anarchist, I suppose, in a way. Yes, ideally there would be very little government to a very little structure, but it's a long way from the kind of concerns we've got now, which really do frighten me. Really do worry and exercise me, because of all these factors which I've said. The capacity to fool people en masse, to spread lies en masse, either posting or not posting in satire, so you can never be told whether the law can't really catch them, because if they did decide to shoot people en masse and pretend it was a satire, where would we be? How do you prosecute things like that? Even from a lawful point of view, I'm a lawful anarchist, believing in keeping law but losing authority. But never mind about that. It's an odd position. The cooperatives and things like that. Yeah, communities. Like large-scale corporations, large-scale government, or large-scale anything. Very organised. Anything with a power structure which can't be justified in terms of happiness of people. Yes, that's actually quite a good point. Yes. Yes. Oh dear. Yeah. Yes. I think I think Trump would probably say, only vote for Clinton because I have to. Anyone but Trump, I think, was his line on that. He's very much a Bernie Sanders man, and I think. Yeah, because it wasn't Trump. Huh? Well, Gary Johnson, who ran for president from Nevada. Yeah, 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 yeah. Huh? Yes, yes, freedom and equality, yes, at the same time, yes. From a social anarchist point of view, you can't have one without the other. There's no freedom without equality, no equality without freedom. It's just not just doesn't work as a separate deal. I don't think. That would certainly be my position. Jefferson was a slave owner. He also wanted massive land handouts for everybody to be a small farmer. I think is more or less the way I understand it. Jeffersonian democracy was a democracy of independent small units. Could be quite wrong. Yes, yes, yes. I understand you still have quite a lot of them self-organising communities, people who elect their own sheriff and they got their own fire brigade, and volunteers for this and volunteers for that. Is that still correct? It's a different, it's a different kind of voluntarist attitude than we have. Huh? Fire and earthquake and fire and all those collective risks. Yes, yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh, mm. That's where the problem with free trade, of course, because some counties may regulate down in terms of environmental protection or worker protection. Some counties may regulate up. You've got trade barriers, you've got dumping and what's the other word? Those kinds of market abuse of trading goods. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah, because different regulatory, different countries have different regulatory authorities. It all abuses its workers, it commands its workers, and it's destroying its environment at a low rate of knots. So that's why all your muscle jobs have gone to China. Hooray! Getting your computers and stuff built by a bunch of gangsters. Wonderful. America and the West, and we're doing the same. Yes, yes, oh gosh. Yes. Yes. Just to read today this year's bottom line. Within forestry must be awful. It must be. I know that one thing I do know about which I saw was a very small fraction of publicly owned forest. You've got actually you've got far. You think it, but you've actually got more publicly owned forest per hectare than you have. Actually, more people, free spaces where you can go and not be molested, not be turfed off than you have. More of our forests are public than yours are. It's weird. Got so much of it, it's just miles and miles and miles of it. There's so little of it you can actually go to as I'm reading it. Do you know what the trespass laws are in your country? I see. I see. I see. I see. Yes. 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 This is a broad bite, isn't it? Bloody corporations, they actually do something right, don't they? Putting the public pressures on them in the right way, they can actually organise it in quite a sophisticated way. Damn it! It's really like I really like some sort of commune of workers to take over your plant and do exactly the same kinds of things. It just wouldn't work because they've got the capital behind them, they've got the whole discipline behind them, because they can institute order and tell people to go here and come there and so forth. So it's difficult because any time more corporations have the ownership of land, I worry. It's not supposed to be that way. So, other Aboriginal of me, but I'm concerned about my country in terms of how much land is being either bought up by in terms of straight ownership and straight or just command economy by means of debt. So many farmers being borrowed up to the hilt to pay for the machinery. I understand. I was having an argument with one of your countrymen, Sargon Channel, not too recently, just recently this week, in fact, about how much land is he's a redneck, self-declared redneck. He's talking about how he's got his little 3-acre plot and how much he likes doing that and his life and so forth. One of the things we're arguing about is whether public land should be privately owned or publicly owned, whether it's worthwhile confiscating the property of these corporations and corporate landowners and splitting up into small plots, which he didn't like very much. Yes, he was talking about him in the main. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, this part of socialism in my country going all the way back to 1649 and beyond. As I may have told you before, this is where the diggers came in. They actually that's what they did. They confiscated, in that case, kind of private land, but it was really public. many land rules about what rights they had over it, or rights they didn't have over it. But these people actually went beyond the law, actually started to dig common land. So it's supposed to be used for pasture, for cattle or whatever. They actually took it and dug it and tried to cultivate it and drain it. They were bust up by the landowners. So that's part of one of the roots of English socialism. People actually getting murdered for trying to dig. Well, some freedom, some freedom. Yes, I know. It's your history, isn't it? Kind of the whole point of the United States was not to put up with George III in his land grabs and his property grabs, and he's trying to a bit of a war to get away from us. I think he got sold. I think he's kind of bought the shaft on that one. But I think he basically got done over by capitalism. That's just personal opinion. Anyway, way off the subject of free speech now. I can go to America and say that. That may be one marker of whether I've still got free speech or not. Stand in the middle of your lumber bill and say all corporations are bent and the workers should take back the land and see what happens. If the corporate cops come and take you away from your lovely paradise of knocked up care for nature, I don't know what to say. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that experiment in another lifetime. Yes. 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 Well, everything is you pay a price for that in the capacity of someone else taking out of a private citizen. There's no law to stop it. So you've actually got some tyrannical powers in the hands of people who want to use them tyrannically. Can't think of a good example now, but Milo Yiannopoulos was probably someone who stands up at the top of the crowd for that. If someone actually wants to go after individuals and mock, berate, and slander them and do whatever he wants to do to them and antagonize the life out of them, scare the life out of them with the behavior of his followers, and there's no law to stop him. So there's a double-edged sword to that. You want the power to be able to mock and put a CNN, have your president very featured in a wrestling video, and have Stephen Corbell go about his ways. Then you've got to permit the way people to tell lies, people to slander, people to satirize, people to play all these kind of games. So it's a very, very difficult. I think it's a very difficult time for free speech right now because of that. Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. Surprise. I'm not actually anti-gun. I think your world of your Second Amendment is just brilliant. That's an anarchist clause. It just scares me when you've got permission to actually use it for self-defense. Well, I think the way the article is written is obviously written very carefully, a well-ordered militia. As long as you're being lawful, as long as you're walking around your ranks and not breaking the place up, you're allowed to carry a gun. But self-defense, for personal self-defense, doesn't say anything about that in the Second Amendment, to my reading. It's being reread or reinterpreted. But I can't see how it comes with that. It comes from the words that's actually written there. Yes. The precursor to that is a well-ordered something about the needs to keep order and defend those interests. Therefore, something a well-ordered militia. Therefore, the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it's in order to provide a militia. That's the reading I have of it. But you tend to get that just a little bit snipped out, as it were. But practically, I can understand that there is a view for many people in the United States, because it's a very open society, because it actually is such an enormous country. Many people in outlying places just don't have any, can't feasibly call the cops because it takes them half an hour to get there. By which time the thief or murderer has gone and people gone, so they have to have some permission to defend themselves on their own property. But just the rest of it is being interpreted. I just can't. Well, it does make a great deal of sense to me. But I'm much more in favour of guns than I was. Having spoken to you guys for such a long time. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I can offer a position on that. It says the difference is power. If you have the power to compel someone, either by force or by persuasion, by using internet tactics or video propaganda techniques, you can actually persuade someone to believe something which isn't true. You're actually controlling their mind. If you have that power, you're responsible for it. And just like a gun, you're responsible for that person, what they do. So I'd say that the power is the, like an anarchist would. What else are you going to get? Power is the power to do something, power to influence someone else. Is the crux upon which to judge that. If you've got the power, you've got the responsibility. But not quite. You're still reticent about it because it means government laws, which is hard. Government laws over speech, which is very hard for a libertarian. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, that's where the mens rea would come into. I would say that if you, a bit like rape, maybe, if you know that you're going to do something which may affect someone else's future, you have to be able to pass the test of how did I know this is going to be okay by the other person if the other person is completely duped and fallen under my power? How did you know that you're actually treating that person as an autonomous being? Which, if you follow Kant, is ethics. You're making a categorical imperative error. In other words, you're treating a human being as an object. Yes, 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 except it is flagrantly the case that most of the people who actually go and do that have read that disclaimer or know about that disclaimer, say, aha, I know what you're really saying. Oh yeah, who will read me this turbulent print state? Okay, boss, off I go. And off they go and do merry hell. I think those, in some ways, those are the biggest dupes of all, because they think it's legal. They think it's legal to harass people. They think it's legal to say to Jess Phillips, I wouldn't even rape you, which is not. It's harassment in my country. But to attempt to put someone to a state of fear is actually going to a state of fear. It's illegal. It's a criminal. It's a criminal offence. You actually get prosecuted for it, I don't know, but it's a breach of the law. Which is all, again, irony and satire. And when is it trolling a joke and when is it absolutely not a joke? It's all dependent on the way the hearer hears it, not the way the speaker speaks it. It's all about perception. Which I know is a big problem for you because it means a breakdown of autonomy, breakdown of your concept of autonomy. Yeah. Well, I can just level you on that. In English law, I think it's pretty much the same in American law. The test in the relevant bits of the law, which obviously you don't have as much of as we have, the relevant test is the reasonable person test. So a judge will actually rule and say, would a reasonable person do this? Would a reasonable person do that? Gives advice to the jury. The jury would say, on that basis, guilty or innocent on the basis of what a reasonable person might say. And the word reasonable is obviously just a word which you use all over the place in the law. So it's not really all that difficult as much of a trial as you would think. Obviously, subject to change over time, but it has to be context driven. There's a famous case, if I can just do this, perhaps we'll wrap up here. There was a famous case in Canada recently, Toronto, where the Twitter wars. Do you remember this? There was a gang of feminists who were criticising this person as a painter, doing something that they didn't like, and it all got very, very much out of hand. Do you remember this? Greg, somebody? If you actually go to the judge's summing up on there, he actually captures the dilemma in law. Because you remember the case failed? The prosecution failed. Yeah, the prosecution failed not because the person wasn't frightened, not because he hasn't made them frightened, but because there could have been a legitimate interpretation of why he wanted to do that, and the fact that he had some kind of, it could not be proved to the correct level of evidence. That evidence wasn't sufficient to prove his intent to do that. Was not, he didn't have a good reason for doing it. So it's a balance of evidence on that fine point, depending on when he was guilty or innocent. It's a good example, I think, of just what you're saying. It's all about perception. How do you look at it? that judge had to really struggle there. So I think it's a good one to go back to. Also, I may just say, we had a classic case in our country, which most people, certainly my generation, knew about. It was called the Craig and Bentley case. You probably never heard of it. But it was a case where two young hoodlums holding up burgling a factory, and the police came back to arrest them. And let me get the names right. Bentley said to Craig, "Let him have it, Chris." A song written about this. Bentley said to Craig, so Bentley, Derek Bentley was a young man who was mentally incompetent. He said, "Yeah, well, but Chris, Craig, let him have it," meaning which could have meant let him have it as in shoot him, or as in give the policeman a gun because he's just getting stupid. As a mentally incompetent person, they hanged him because they couldn't hang Derek Bentley because Chris Craig because he was underage. So they went for a guy who was mentally incompetent, saying, "Let him have it, Chris." It's a very, very ambivalent statement. Again, it's just a piece of popular revenge. It was one of the cases upon which the English death penalty faded because nobody wanted to have anything to do with it after that. Yes. Yes, incitement. Is it incitement, or is it just at the time? At the time, the Republicans were really just after the war. Lots of guys had come back with lots of fathers lost control of their sons. The war was terrible in London for burglary and things like that. Criminal activity just went way up because of blackouts. Nobody really talks about that, but it did. It's a very definite thing. And these hoodlums, these teenage gangs, was just going from a British perspective, just out of control. And the news media was full of scare stories about teenagers this, teenagers that, teenagers the other, and that was part of the whole furore. And one guy got copped for it. Dick Bentley, yeah, it's that case. Yes, yes. There's definitely yes. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me? Oh dear. Right. So yes, there's this thing about reasonable doubt. I mean, it's really a question of how you, if someone has lost their reason because you've lied to them, how much off balance do they have to be before you actually take on all the responsibility for them? How hard do they have to be bought into this con, basically? Can convince people against their better judgment. And of course, because I'm worried about this, so we're going back to Nazi Germany in 1933 and propaganda and how that took off. And what else are we going to do with a dictator who gets into power now? It's the power of the internet behind them. My God, how could you ever deconvince the population? Has it been gone out by satire to that extent? They believed black was white and all politicians had paedophile rings underneath pizza parlour. I mean, how are we going to live in this modern world? Put it a little mildly, yes. You bet. You bet, yes. Yes. Well, I'm going to give you my touchstone again. If the pastor has the power, he's got the responsibility. He can con them, he's responsible for what they do until he can prove otherwise. He's got them under his thumb, in the palm of his hand. He's got them completely convinced. They will just swallow whatever he says. And he's got the responsibility for what they do until he can discharge himself of that positively. Yes. Well, there's also authority. There's also, if I may say so, authority and popularity. If you're very popular, like PewDiePie, you've got, I would say, a vast responsibility for the influence you have of your audience, which is exactly why I worry about him so much. Don't think he's quite aware of just how much of an influence he has on people. Exactly the same that the Vlog Brothers said after VidCon, and that little, just walking across a concourse can have an effect on people. Power. That was a full stop there. Yes. That's the philosophical point. That's the philosophical point upon which it always hangs. Is, are people autonomous? Do they think separately, or do they think together? Now, I'm a socialist, so I think they think together. You're a classical libertarian, shall we say, and you think that we're all completely autonomous and we live separate lives and we communicate together. But ultimately, it's obviously the case because we've got so many words in English language for influence, deceit, bribe, and corrupt, influence, enjoin, lead. You've got all kinds of words for influence. So I think it's pretty obvious that it exists. At least we think it exists. And if I may say so, this question and answer session to me really does very directly demonstrate the fact, because when I ask you a question, you answer, and you ask me a question, I answer. You've got a joint enterprise, so to a certain extent we are talking and thinking together. Dialogue is one united team enterprise. There you go. QED. Very weak QED, but it's QED. Yes. Yes. That was one where the con didn't work. She pushed it too far. She wasn't the expert enough in the con. She wasn't slick enough. If she'd been slick enough, she'd got away with it. So many people get away with as bad things and worse. Mustn't get political. Mustn't get political. Mustn't get political. For example, WMD in Iran. There you go. There's someone that people got away with pretty much flat, great big porker. All kinds of other issues I should bring up with political issues, which probably won't. But I must be careful of you because, of course, I've had a lifetime to think about this. You've got your life ahead of you to think about this, and I mustn't crowd too many of my ideas on you. I have to allow you space to express yourself and to grow into whatever ideas you're going to have. Because once you're conscious of the influence between us, that's how you can get free of it. I think classically, if you know the conditions of your conditioning, if you know how they're doing it to you, then you can be free. They can seize back your power, your autonomy. So if you know the people like Sargon or Mayanopoulos or Trump or whatever it might be are doing things to you, then you can get back your freedom. Not until then. Yes. An analogy which is often made. Yes. It looked like a bit of a yes. I understand experience. You believe in the minister or whoever, and you suddenly find out everything he's saying is no. It's part of an experience to go through, I think. How old were you when you went through that? Sorry to be intrusive, but how old were you when you went through that deprogramming? Yeah. Period. Okay, don't worry. Dark period. Yes. Ah, yes. 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 Oh, yes. 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 Yeah. Yes. This sounds very familiar to me. Because I was very, very moral when I was young. Not quite so moral now, but I did used to sort of shout and scream and go on about things and causes and whatnot. And that all came from my after I actually it was after I lost my faith, should we say? And not that I ever had too much to begin with. Like I say, I always had doubts, concerns, and puzzles, and staring at my Sunday school book and thinking, this is a very nice Sunday school teacher telling me all this, but I was always a bit sceptical, I think. So around about 18 was when I finally said no. It did come out very, very super altruistically with me, yes. But now I'm much more into spirituality now. I'm much more gentle about it now than I was. Don't really see the point of going on about it a great deal. We're here, we're gone. Get on with it. Smile, be happy, but don't make a great big deal of it. And spirituality, if people want spirituality, that's fine. It works for them. Just wish they wouldn't be so certain about it. Wish they wouldn't go on and on about it. How theirs is right and everybody else is wrong, including ours. Crucifixions doesn't do it for me at all anymore. I just can't stand the guy because he's telling people what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, from authority, telling what's so, what isn't so from authority. That's bad as well. So I just usually say I'm an atheist because that's my faith. I'm just guessing like everybody else is. That's the position I've come to, but it's just a position. It's no more permanent than anything else. Like an SJW. I was an SJW. So yes, I can understand where they get it from. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's me too. God, I was to bore people rigid about vegetarianism. Anyway, that was my kick. Anyway, so what got you out of it was you said that something got you out of that supreme atheist in your dick face. Okay, I got the picture. Yes. 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 Yeah. I know those trap sessions. They can go on for hours. Mugs of tea, coffee, beer, whatever gets consumed on the kitchen table in college. Done that. No. Yeah. Ah, yes. 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 autonomous life, yes. Yeah, yes. Yes, so you actually grew through what we're doing, through debates, yes. So that's actually, you're a classical example of the classical methods working. You take on this position, take on that position, and you argue it out for yourself. And through doing that, you come to see which is the biggest, strongest position, which so view the marketplace of ideas actually worked. Faith in your faith from that successful experience. If you had been duped at that time, you joined the Moonies or something, can you imagine you would have a different experience of that? Yes. You've been from youth or? Yes. Yes. Huh? Right. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. That's way too strong for me. I can imagine. We have a thing called Remembrance Day in our country, and if anybody did that, they'd be dead. I just don't know what happened. He said, "Fuck your brother, you died for the country." Bloody hell! You know, we've got some people who actually do that. We used to hang out with some anarchists who were very, very, very pacifist, very anti-war, very much anti-First World War, for example. And I just can't think of what would happen in my country. Very different now. Countries change, culture changes, and so I don't know if the same uncertainties are still there. But I just can't imagine me or anybody of my country, of my generation really saying "f you" to a man in uniform. It's kind of a hard line for you. It's like so you're a millennial, yes, yes. Well, I'll leave that to your country and you that you've got a separate military to ours, and so I don't have to defend them. I think they're perfectly well capable of saying and leaving you to be whatever you want to do. I think it's part of the freedom they fight for. I think that's the way I've heard on YouTube. Members of the military defend the position. That's your right, brother. Go ahead and say whatever you want about the military. You burn the flag. It's your right. You go and be a Muslim. You be right. That's what I fought for. So, oh yes, okay. All right. So the guys are really they're getting a bit ready now. I think tight times. Yes, I have great. If I may say so, I have great confidence in your General Mathis. Even though I'm as anarchist as you could wish, great confidence in that guy. He's got his head boiled on. When everybody else is shutting their mouths off, they don't hear a word from him. He's doing his job, top notch. I think everybody would say that. He's a very controversial figure, I think, but he knows what he's doing. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's personal. Yes. 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 There isn't. In our country, it's very different, of course, because wearing Union Jack underpants was just a patriotic thing to do at one time. So it's not a. Our relationship to our flag is very different because we have a monarch who's kind of like our flag in person. You see what I mean? Kind of different thing. So it's a different history, different way of dealing with these symbols. But we do have very potent symbols. Our poppy, which I think you have. So we have got the same ways we do. Different tours, different parts of the world. Different, but you feel very strongly about your civil war, of course, which we don't. We had a civil war. We chopped our king's head off, but we don't feel as animated about that in 1650 as you do as yours in where it was 1850. So it's a very different countries, different laws. But feelings about the dead, free speech about the dead is very difficult. And again, another difficult piece of terrain. People have very strong feelings about their long lost companions. Yes. Yes, right timing always in comedy, in terms of calendar time and in terms of microseconds. Yes. Get it right and it's part of funny. Get it wrong and it's comes head. Yeah. What it was until you won. Right and wrong comes out of the power of the gun in the end. There's nothing stopped the Nazis saying what they were saying other than guns. Be advised of that. There was absolutely nothing that could not put a piece of paper between the two sides other than one was right and the other was wrong. You didn't know what the hell was going on. And there were guns. It was resolved by force. That is the end of. It's always the end with fascists because that's the way they organise. That's the way that's the whole. To me, that is very important I struggle to make this understood to people in your country. But you must not let fascists organise. You must not let it happen. If they can organise, they can take over the place before you know what's hit you. And then it's down to guns, and that's just a power struggle. No one can tell who's right and who's wrong. You use a lot when you go to war, huge lot. And we've had it twice, of course, but a very different form for you recent years. But that's obviously still very savagely burnt into our memory because it's so relatively recent and people still remember it. People don't remember the first anymore because they're just not alive anymore, really. But the second is we've still got quite a lot of veterans, and it was effing nasty. Not like the war films you sometimes see, but effing nasty, very nasty indeed. Nasty business all over. I really do not want to do that again. Certainly not in my lifetime. I never thought I'd have to say it, but scared as hell about what's going on in America now. Scared as hell. identical freedom of speech. Fake news stories, the persuasiveness, it's all coming together in one big frothy lump. It's really, 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 really tweaking me. We haven't signed on to have that debate, so we won't have it now. But just so you know, it is something which I feel very strongly, which I've tried to get over and over in my YouTube career, is just how near we are to something pretty horrific. And I worry about the world. It's not just your country; it's happening all over the world. It's based in Turkey's gone backwards to an autocratic state. Poland and Austria creaking. The Philippines have got an autocratic government. Duterte. Russia's obviously got Venezuela, and got all kinds of corruption fixed. It's all coming back because something or other has happened between the people who are not happy. The Trump voters, the other people just not happy with their lives. There's just, I don't know why that's not. Can't always talk to them rationally, but because they're so angry. But can't always talk to the trolls in your country because they're so pumped up with anger. But against SJWs or whatever it might be. But there's something going on with that. Something going on, and it could turn nasty. It could turn nice. That's my take home. But I'm very, very worried. It could be, I don't know. It could be something to do with the way people are communicating across boundaries now. It could be to do with people are coming to a new consciousness of themselves in the world. That's all a bit Marxian, of course, but it's just on a sort of straightforward basis. Can see people comparing notes. People talk to someone from Czechoslovakia, telling us not to go the communist way. You can talk to someone from Greece, telling us not to go to a communist, to go to the fascist way. They've got very different living experiences of it. People comparing and contrasting. Your government gives you this, or our government gives you that. You've got a national health service. You've got free speech. You can say anything. Yes, you can say anything. Wow. Carry a gun? Yeah, carry a gun. Bloody hell. It's unimaginable. So there's all kinds of people comparing the different deals they get. That's part of what I can see from the wider community. I don't know about you, have you heard things like that? People from different countries sharing notes?
A bit. I say and I agree that there's a lot of international exchange, because the internet isn't one nation. This is actually something we talked about last night a bit. We touched on in a live stream I did with Eldritch God and a few other people. He does one typically every weekend or every Friday night when I'm not available. But if he's late,
Who's this?
Eldritch God, the guy that moderated. He had a live stream last night, and I got on there. And oh, by the way, for those, I guess my audio has been messed up. You've been coming through fine, but I had my microphone muted, so an hour and a half went by of no one hearing what I said. So, luckily, I mean, your responses were able to kind of give clues to what I said, so that's fine.
Okay.
But anyone watching, I feel so horrible.
Oh no, never mind. These things happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's alright. A lot of these two are opinions I've already kind of expressed in other videos of mine too, so anyone who ever watches my stuff can go back and look. We were talking about how, yeah, the internet is so broad, it's not really a nation or anything, so it's kind of harder to bind by those rules, so you have those ideas being expressed without any filter, having to cross any boundary, and it's just... it's just there. Honestly, I think there was definitely some American... I mean, whether you're for it or against it, there was definitely some outside Western nation influence on Brexit, I think. Definitely outside influence on...
I think you and I would be... I am a rarity amongst my countrymen of thinking that. I'm glad to hear you express it so directly. From your perspective, that gives me some degree of reassurance. Thank you. Yes.
And I think the Trump election was...
From my perspective, certain outside Western influences were well at work in yours.
Yeah. Well at work. We had some outside influence too. I mean, you got to think about this. A lot of Western personalities on YouTube or not Western, pretty much a lot of personalities on YouTube that maybe argue for a bit more of a center left or conservative-ish, center right position. They have a lot of American followers, and those people were
the classical liberals you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul Watson, those kind of people, Thunderfoot maybe.
Yeah, although they don't always necessarily agree with each other. Thunderfoot was obviously more against Trump. Sargon was in favor of Trump. Equally, yeah. Thunderfoot was against Brexit. Sargon was in favor of Brexit.
Yes.
But, you know, they offer their opinions, and those opinions are, you know, kind of like you go. You know, they have larger audiences, and those opinions may have not completely influenced. You know, they may not have been the sole variable, but they definitely may have played a part in people who are on the fence of like, you know, I'm kind of liberal, I don't like Trump, but Sargon has a good opinion, and maybe I'll look into that more. And I'm not blaming Sargon for that. I'm not blaming them for it, but
I don't know whether you can blame him or not. I don't know how much power he's really got. Yeah. But certainly is part of the matrix, part of the whole. The large YouTube personalities that we have, the large blocks, are the PewDiePies, and are a significant feature of YouTube. You know who PewDiePie is. I know who PewDiePie is. You know who Sargon is. I know who Sargon is. Lots of people know who Sargon is, but only on the internet. So he's internet famous.
Mm-hmm.
But you say Sargon like outside on the street, nothing. Say Jeremy Corbyn, everybody knows. Say Donald Trump, everybody knows. Sargon Lackard, PewDiePie, who's toured outside the internet, but on the internet, powerful, influential, which is a feature of YouTube in a way, but also a danger, I think. It's a risk factor. Once you've got that much power in that without accountability, well, what anarchists say, power corrupts absolutely, and they've got quite a lot of persuasive power, and absolute no rules to stop them from doing what they want. So they do want to actually set up some kind of systematic duping of the public. Who would tell? Who would tell?
Well, true, and I mean, I guess you could kind of. One other thing too, I kind of wanted to point to as a example of the issue with that is the whole mass duping and people kind of falling for it. Going back to what I brought up about being an info warrior, that's how InfoWars and places like them and like InfoWars work. They try to
explain that slightly?
InfoWars. That's
you could just explain it.
That's what they do. They essentially follow I mean, I wouldn't say it's a mass duping, but they fall under that same thing. They use their influence to convince those that listen to what they say that, you know, they're right. And in a way, they do try to push action to occur. And this is something, all right, so as an American, as someone who considers himself probably more pro-gun than any conservative I've ever met, maybe if there are probably libertarians that are more pro-gun than I am, but they're also more, I like to say, sane about it. There's more rational thinking behind their stance. But I was terrified of the Bundy Ranch incident. I don't know if you heard of that in Nevada. We had a farmer have a standoff with police, and like a few hundred militia showed up to back this guy. Then a couple years later, they had another situation in Oregon, and same thing happened. Someone ended up dying. A couple of the people who were in charge of this, they were staging the second one in Oregon as a protest, where they took over public land by force, you could say, even though no one was there.
Yes.
I actually did a video on it not long ago, covering some of it, and they ended up both those incidents, InfoWars and other people like Alex Jones, because there are multiple out there. There are ones who are really religious, who focus more on the religious side. There are some who are more.
There's a network of them, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. They don't necessarily. It's funny to hear them call each other out as like, oh, they're fake, they're controlled opposition. I was like, okay, then how do I trust you? But that's a point for another time. But they would use that influence to say, well, this is happening in, you know, in Clark County in Nevada, so go there and meet this guy, and that's, you know, help him, bring your guns and back this, or they'd say go down to the border and there's a border thing going on, or with bring your guns, or bring your guns and go to Oregon. And that was frightening for me. That's where I thought a civil war would start. Because, like I said, I'm extremely pro-gun, but the last thing I want is honestly, some redneck idiot to ruin it for me.
Or not redneck idiot, or just some idiot, or just someone who believes Pizzagate, for sake. Yes, apart from the gun stuff, there's plenty of evidence around. I think. Do you remember that great big pop concert that wasn't organised? Can't remember what the thing was. They advertised this great big concert event to middle class people. Asked for several $100 a ticket to fly down all more cons. Brilliant luxury atmosphere. It meant there's hardly anything built, hardly anything done, and it got conned. It got completely stripped off, all because of popularity. So you can actually get dollars out of people. You can get guns out of people.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Tell the right lies to the right people, the right pleasing lies on YouTube, which is so easy to do, so cheap, so easy to do, to organise. You can always pick up a fake news story. It's being pumped by someone, and read it out in your own voice. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and that's why I agree. It's frightening, and it's something I worry about, and this is where something too. I've talked about this with friends of mine. I think it's something we should do. You talk about academia, something that should be pushed, not just in academia, but just education. I think we need to have more critical thinking, logic, and reasoning kind of courses younger.
Well, if I said that civics in your country was something which I know one of the pedestrian emails complained about. Is the absence of civics education in your country. I don't know if you ever got to. Do you have civics education?
Yeah, we have some of it. I know I definitely had. We always had every year we learned about something different. Essentially, the way it worked is when you're younger, grade pretty much around third grade, which I don't know what that would be equivalent to in.
That'd be third grade is the third year after you're into school, is it?
Third grade is it's your fourth year, because kindergarten is your first year.
Okay, so that'd be our age 9 to 10, I think.
Yeah, third grade's about 9 to 10. It's between 8 and it's like 8 or 9 or 9. Yeah, wait a minute.
8 or 9. Okay, so that's
5.
I can give
6,
that.
7. Yeah, so like 8 to 9, 9 to 10, around that age group. Yeah, okay. You'd start to learn about more of your local history and your local geography, and things like. For me, where I come from, there was I can't remember if it was like a standoff, kind of like a mini Alamo where I'm from, at a place called like the Idadobe Mission or something. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I learned it when I was a kid and didn't really care to learn more. So that's not an example of that's not to reflect poorly on that civics education, but. That was what we learned then, and then the next year we learned about our state. So we learned about California's history, gold rush, all that kind of stuff. And then the following year, we learned about national history. So obviously touched on everything from the Revolutionary War all the way on up to America's involvement in, I think, the Gulf War. And then of course we talked about different economic things that happened, the Great Depression. Right,
but that would say was history, not civics. Civics, I think, was of knowing how your politics works, knowing how to get a bill passed, how to raise a petition, knowing how to influence, knowing how democracy, how the knobs and gears of democracy works.
Civics comes. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait.
But that may be quite a different understanding to you.
No, yeah. Civics comes later. Civics, we get a double dose of it. In 7th and 8th grade, when we're in middle school, we get education on the 3 branches of government, and we go through the Constitution. We're actually we had to memorize the preamble, and we had to do a report on one of the articles of the Constitution.
It's far more than we get.
And then when you are in later high school, you I mean, you kind of go over each a little bit, but they start off with history, and then towards your junior and senior year, they go more towards civics. They do American government. They do civic. Yeah, American government is civics, our civics class. But they do that, and they go over again how to do it. They do a few, I guess, experimentations sometimes, or exercises with like having the class function as a mini Senate for certain things and stuff like that. And then that's half the year, and the other half of the year they do economics.
I see. Yes.
So we get
civics and economics.
We get a decent amount of civics, but not as much as maybe we should.
Yes, that was what Mr. Podesta's. He said that we were paying a price for lack of civics education over the years, and neglect of civics. That was his point of view.
I would say so.
He was bewailing the fact that the American electorate was not educated in matters of persuasion and matters of civics, matters of politics. So he was historically compared with other generations weren't prepared, in his view.
Yeah, I would agree that, especially, I'd say that it's not just civics, so kind of like I would want that civics paired, like I said, with critical thinking and philosophy. I think a lot of people need to understand bad arguments, logical fallacies, the immense value of evidence, and because the thing too, and this is a joke I always talk about, like with Trump, because I'm not the biggest fan of Trump. I don't necessarily despise him. I don't really despise any American politician, but Trump makes arguments that are not arguments. He sounds like, and a lot of people say this, he sounds like a high schooler or a freshman in college bullshitting his way through a paper.
Yes.
Well, Trump, why should we select you for your foreign policy?
That's if it's pretty much ticks all the boxes I can think of. It just appeals to the people. That's a rabble rouser. Sorry to pitch in on that's convenient, but to me, it just fits entirely the box. Demagogue.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, I guess, because I want to also fall back on that I don't want to sound like I'm saying that everyone who voted for Trump doesn't see through that. There are a lot of people who do, and they chose him for other reasons.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who still make fun of him or can't necessarily stand that, but a lot of people voted for Trump for the same reason a lot of people voted for Clinton. They weren't Trump or Clinton, essentially, which that upsets me too. And that's where the civics fails, is it focuses so much on Republican and Democrat. It focuses so much on the main two parties. They don't really point out Green, Libertarian, Independents. They don't point out how many they don't use examples of, say, where I'm from. Not where I'm from, but Jesse Ventura. He was a governor of Minnesota. He won. He was an independent.
Yes.
He was technically third party by the fact that he wasn't the other two, and he won and did a decent job.
Yes. And of course, your guy from Nebraska did a decent job. Johnson.
Yeah, and while Johnson was a Republican, he wasn't typical, and he ran outside.
Republican, yes. Yes. Oh, I liked him too. Yes. So I don't know where it really leaves us, the free speech, but I think we've got a lot of problems. Don't know if we've got solutions, but at least we had a good talk about all the problems.
I'd say
a good journalism would be a very good start. A journalist you could trust. Just actually journalist, not a say, comment is cheap, facts are gold. A journalist who's good command of the facts, give you the facts, and make it presentable, but not a cheap appeal to emotion. That's a journalist I want to hear about.
And to be honest, I think even though YouTube's kind of made it hard lately, I think people are getting a bit sick of the talking heads type. They're looking more for facts. They're looking for alternative sources. Like, that's how the Young Turks got big. That's how other places got big. Places that offered, links in the description, or that offered not alternative media, but pretty much a fresh reminder of how journalism was more about, hey, these are the sources I looked up, and these are the facts that I see. This is according to this FBI statistics, or according to,
Well, all I can say is TYC must have changed a bit. Because it certainly doesn't look like that way now. It just looks like another bunch of talking heads who just comment. Just comment from a different anti-Trump perspective. Apart from that, just carbon copies of Fox News. To me, just can't tell the difference. He's got a very, very right-wing style, got a very left-wing style, but apart from that, just do exactly the same thing. Comment. No facts.
No, that's true. There are quite a few that still do that. And then, unfortunately, with YouTube, those same media sources that were being beaten by YouTube back in the day are now dominating YouTube. YouTube opened up to the corporate side. This is something I've seen.
Or CBC and MSNBC, those kind of people.
Yeah, Fox. They all started dominating YouTube.
Okay, so cable's turned into YouTube, and that makes sense because it's all very cheap technology, and why wouldn't they? It's a massive market. That's something you regret because they think they're so dominant because of their corporate backing.
Yeah, and it doesn't really offer any change. It's essentially, it's like say that Walmart was having competition from a mall, so then Walmart opens a kiosk in the mall.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, damn, now Walmart, what can we do to them? And not only do they open a kiosk, but eventually they end up getting their own little part of the mall, like not just a kiosk, but an actual store size, a good sizable square footage, and it's like, well, shit.
Yes. Yes, except that our mall was cooperative. Now they're coming in the corporates.
Yeah, and they have that backing. So that's the thing, is with a corporate backing, the unfortunate, it's different than an independent journalist or someone who's a little bit smaller grade, where they have to provide something of substance or else they become irrelevant. Corporate backing,
Well, as long as the public they're talking to has good judgment, so many of them are talking to people whose judgment is somewhat suspect, whose judgment they come to is almost pretty clean in their eyes. Certainly, I think you could probably say that the churches. I don't know how many religious channels there are, but there's certainly quite a few. From my point of view.
Yeah. Of course, that's
where the Roman Catholics are active on YouTube yet.
Of course, that's. Oh, sorry. You keep talking. Yes. I'm sorry.
It's very, very strange because that's one of the biggest corporations there is, of course. The organised churches, globally. So I don't know what they're doing. Well, they've got some. That's rather interesting, isn't it? It does strike me that some of the techniques that are being used are one of the old ones which TV evangelists were using in your country, which of course wasn't so much a thing in my country because we just don't see religion the same way. So I wonder how many of those old TV evangelists and all those TV evangelical laws.
Oh yeah.
By law, which I think the Catholic Church still have quite a bit of influence in. One thing did good on, because they were pretty poisonous, weren't they?
Yeah, but they may have a resurgence with
YouTube.
That, and I mean they are coming back. This is where I kind of when it talks to that, a lot of the complaints from, I guess you could say, the skeptic, half the skeptic community towards the other half, is that the focus is solely on combating progressive points.
Yeah.
I guess to say, or SJWs, however you want to phrase it. But it's essentially it's the more classic liberals versus the progressives, and that infighting has allowed for, and I'll agree with this. That infighting has allowed for some of the old beaten dead horses of the conservative Christian right to rise again. It's given them a chance to take a breather. Yeah, I mean, people like Dusty Smith and a few others have pointed this out, and it's true. it's
Well,
part
cult
of.
of Dusty Smith.
What was that?
Cult of Dusty Smith.
Yep.
Him. Okay.
He.
It's actually yeah, there are people gathering forces, are there? Well, that's a bit ominous.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have some people pointing that out. I try to as much as I can, but I, I don't focus as much on.
What I would say is I have great faith in the power of academia. I'm not academic, obviously. You've got some Christy Winters is an academic, and obviously Professor Peterson is an academic. There's a few academics on. Gary Edwards is an academic. I think a lot of them are paying attention to kinds of complaints that we had last week. I've got great faith, power of academia to sort itself out and write itself with the truth in the end. I go through a few combinations to get there, a few rows and a few heartaches, but I think once Christy Winters and people like Lisa Sarkeesian and finally copped onto the lives of men that go through, and the lives that working people go through, now they are not working class, I think there's going to be a change. I've got great faith in that. University is a weird place, but they do always boil down to the truth.
Yeah, that's the.
In my experience, certainly.
I guess kind of how you have. There's two things I want to talk about with that. One, how you kind of how you say you have faith in academic figures and academics themselves.
Processes are faith in science, faith in a scientific approach to history and philosophy and all other disciplines. A bit like Gary Edwards does.
Yeah. Kind of how you say that. Oh, sorry.
Gary Edwards is an English philosopher. He's a critic of the progressive movement, and you may want to look him up because he may well be saying some of the things you want to hear.
But kind of how I guess you say.
Well.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Gary Edwards is also a socialist, so if you want.
That's all right. I can take differing views. I don't. There's no one I've ever read or listened to that I agreed with fully. Everyone has something I disagree with about, but that's a part of respectful discussion, I think, and respect just
absolutely.
Being an adult.
Yes.
But kind of, I guess I wanted to relate how you feel about the academic process is very much how I feel about people in general and their rational faculties. Is that I like to believe that in the end people will point out, well, that's a bullshit idea. Not always, obviously, but that's what I'm hoping for. But what I want to talk about with academia too is what I'd like to see the process do is, journalism's obviously kind of gone to like we said, it's kind of gone to shit because it's become more about opinion over substance and fact.
To shit is exactly the way I put it. That's the correct use of English words. It's shit.
Yeah, it is. This is very much.
It's that.
Wet, hot, and steaming, but
absolutely.
It I think with that you have kind of a rift between the average, and we brought this up in our discussion before, in the email exchange about this stream. It's definitely created a rift between the average consumer of information, who obviously uses that bullshit we call journalism today, and those in academia who study this closer to the source, is what closer to the source or at the source, where journalists at least should be looking, which should be one of the sources, at least at minimum, that journalists look to for facts, for information. And that major rift has created such a I guess almost not a language barrier, but almost kind of a language barrier, an idea barrier that, and I think that, and this is something that they actually kind of touched on a little bit with the attitudes in academia in the live stream that you suggested, that there's a bit of like a elitist arrogance, both being output by a lot of academics, but also being interpreted just due to the kind of, like, oh, that goes over my head and I don't really understand.
Yeah.
So
Yes. So there's a lot of mutual comprehension on both sides, you think?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an issue, and I would say I fall kind of in the middle of I guess education level. I didn't complete my university time, but I've definitely still continued to study outside of university. I've read other things. The internet's very valuable. I've looked up many professors and lectures.
Well, I don't know a different history, but somebody, another kid I came across called me half-educated because I studied engineering. so from his point of view, I studied proper subject like history or economics. I was half-educated. So I always feel a little bit like that myself. Got one foot in both camps. A little bit academic, a little bit, but I can see the point of view. Because of my experience with National Health Service and so forth. I can see the point of view, I think to a certain extent. But working class, I can see that point of view. Hope.
That's where I feel too, because I mean, I would definitely economically and everything I would fall under working class. I work a hard job, and
manual job.
Yeah, and it's that part I fall into. However, I'm not unfamiliar with a lot of ideas. I research into philosophy.
Wait to tell whether you're working class or not. How do other working class guys talk to you, and how do you fit in? Do they accept you as one of theirs, or do they just accept you as being a bystander or someone who's educated is coming through the system? It's a clever idea, or goes places, but always left behind.
It's kind of I'm accepted as a part of the working, by a lot of working class people, but there's a lot of people who are like, oh, that working class guy's smart, kind of a thing. I mean, it's not too. The working class isn't stupid. I feel like it's pegged to be idiotic. It's not. A lot of these people have their own skills. They've studied. They
But there's a big gap between the boss class and the worker class. I'm definitely part of the boss class because I've bossed people. I've hired and fired. I've been through that. I've been on the enemy side of them. There's just no two ways about that.
Oh yeah. I
realise that now we're back on my career. I've hired and fired. And there's a gulf. Bosses and workers just don't match. So I broke my faith on that parade. So I feel a bit guilty about that. But never mind, that's my problem. I've got bigger things to worry about. But people can't save. People have to watch the money in a different world. People like me, I've got plenty of money. I saved up all my life. So saved all my money. Didn't spend much. Didn't have a family. So I've got loads of money. Just got far too much of it. But there's all the difference in the world between that and someone's got to scrape for every penny. Watch where the blows are coming from. Just be tough as hell. I do feel very strongly that some of the guys I'm talking to online are just being as tough as hell. Because otherwise it's just crap right now. The working stiffs, not a good time to be a working stiff in America. Don't know what you think.
Oh, it is difficult. I definitely fall into that latter category of those who fight and pull and bust my ass to make it work. I mean, I also would be like, well, it could be worse. I could be in a third world country starving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, relative to that, yeah, I have to put in a lot to get by. But when it comes to that, though, I kind of come from an interesting thing. I guess going back to that thing I brought up to you, which I don't know if the live stream picked it up because I was stupid and frickin' muted my mic in OBS. But when I brought up the whole I have a brush with the military thing, I was in officers training, but I scrubbed out of it. So I'm essentially, I guess you could say, a boss personality, or the boss mentality within a worker's body or whatever.
You had enough another officer about you to be selected for officer training. Yes, they recognised the type, but didn't get the right man. They didn't reckon with your whatever it was, maverick spirit, or your independence, or your whatever happened to you. You obviously took the wrong choice, took the right choice. Seem to be happy with it. So don't seem to be regretting that choice you made at all.
Well, I mean, it's a long story. I definitely am upset with myself not following through with that and wasting that potential.
Oh, yes. I see.
There's a
So
little.
you were upset about it.
There's a little dishonor with that, but at the same time, I may not be getting married in a week like I would be now if I had followed through with that.
Precisely. I always find it very. Old soldiers always tell me they can't understand why people would be regretful about not being a soldier. People who've actually been through it said, "You don't want to do that." And you tell me the day you get up, you're not a soldier, is a good day. And that's what I've got from my dad and my granddad, all the other people I've talked to from war experiences. Talk much about it, but they said that's the message I received. Any day you're not a soldier is a good day. So I'll just do with that. Maybe you didn't take such a bad choice anyway. Perhaps your liver knew better what your mind what to do.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's where I'm happy to have that.
The liver's being called the seat of the soul by medics because it's got a very complicated physiological function. It's a medical joke. It's the seat of your soul. Anyway, so your liver was with you on that day.
Yeah. But I mean, so that kind of attributes to that. I'm a bit more of a try to be a bit more of a leader in personality. Also, I did for a brief time was I guess you could say a business owner or a business owner partner, and was my own boss for a bit. And management is something I am comfortable in. So when it comes to that, I work with that. However, I still fit into the working class pretty well. I get along with them. I fit in with the ideas. I just don't.
Well, there's in social anarchist movement. There's always room for leaders. You have to be very, very responsible. My grandfather was a communist entrepreneur, and my other granddad was a trade union convener. So I've got both sides of my family. You can see where I come from.
Yeah.
People don't fall far from the trees, they say.
Yeah.
Communist entrepreneur. Could you imagine that?
No, that's interesting though. But I see. I can see where you get your ideas from.
Just give you a little thumbnail sketch of him. His name was Alfred. He was a sergeant in the engineers. He got a military medal. He came out of the First World War very, very cynical. He just thought that all things was crap, and he didn't believe in the whole tosh of patriotism and so forth. He said, "No, I'm a communist. The middle class can go and kiss my bottom." He started a business which paid all the guys as leader of men. Like I say, won a military medal for being a leader. He's carried that forward in his life. So there's certainly room for leadership initiative in the European anarcho socialist group. We're not slaves. We're not automatons. We're not. Don't consider ourselves as individuals, but not without leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you do always need the leadership part, but that's why I just wanted to bring that up, just because that kind of answered the question, I guess, of whether I would fit into which group. But also, I don't blame your grandfather for being, or who you're describing, for being cynical after World War I. I can imagine such a trenches, man. That I can't fathom.
Yes. Well, you're quite right to have that an impression. I won't go into it now, but I've known a couple of old soldiers from World War One, and everything you say is borne out in the very few words that I got out of them. I won't go into it now because it's a bit of a relevant story, but yes, everything you say and more and more and more. And World War II was the bad war. World War One was fought from my perspective, on the point of view of free speech, the rule of law, because it was all about whether the end after all was said and done in my country. We went to war on the basis of is a contract between people, between the great powers. Is a contract between the great powers binding, or is it just a piece of paper? The version said it was a piece of paper. They invaded Belgium. We said, no, that's a breach of the law. On that we will stand. We did. And I'm ever so proud of that. But at the same time, it was absolutely awful. It was a capitalist war. It was the first capitalist war, and lots of human beings got absolutely shredded to pieces. So there's two aspects to it. There's the horror of it, which turned out to a good reason when it started. The casus belli was good. But what it turned out to was just completely unexpected. What the kind of explosives and machine guns and mechanical, dehumanised condition of people in the trenches really did mirror and echo the dehumanised conditions of people in factories at that time. The ruling class was absolutely shocked by the conditions of working for people if they came forward for the draft. They just couldn't believe that people would just that sick and ill. Because they were actually running a country which was composed of sick and ill people. Because that was what we had when we did recruitment for the first draft. After the First War, it came as a shock to the ruling class just how ill people were. That's where we got our first breath of welfare status. Anyway, just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's something.
What do you go to war for? What else do you go to war for? Territory? Hardly worth it. Trade routes? Hardly worth it. Law? Worth it. It's going to be that. It's going to be that. It's going to be great powers just tearing lumps through government, as it were. Raw power just tearing lumps out of people's lives. That's what you go to war for. What you went to war for in 1776, I believe.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, it was definitely about. I think too. A lot of times, war is about either gaining power for oneself or removing power from another person, and I'd say that's what.
To get power from a tyrant is worth it. If the tyrant's breaking the law, that to me is worth it, because the law's all we've got. Maybe crud, maybe crap, but it's all we've got.
That's true. Yeah, and that's definitely where the Great Wars were over that. Over yes. breaching of those agreements, the breaching of those pacts, and
yes. Well, certainly that is the perspective I have of it now. It's been different. History gets rewritten and rewritten according to the needs of the age, so it is said. So my next generation may have a different point of view. Who knows? But that's my point of view, and I've got to act on it. I've got to live it. I believe in the sacrifice of my forefathers, and it's what my country stood for. I have to stand for it again. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Times may be difficult for me, but times are tough over, and I've said I've got plenty to worry about. So if you wonder why I'm here, shaking like a leaf, doing what I'm doing, that's why. This is my part. This is my share. This is my. We've got a job to do at the moment. We've just been to see Dunkirk. You can probably tell.
No,
have you seen it? Do you ever seen that movie?
What movie?
Dunkirk.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I want to eventually.
Pretty yes.
But
so that's what I'm doing on YouTube. You want to know why it persists so long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the same way I feel that everyone. It's kind of like everyone who has the ability to vote, I feel, has the responsibility to vote. Everyone who has the ability to speak has the responsibility to speak. In a way, I mean, I wouldn't put a gun to your head and say you must, but
no.
It's
everyone's free to choose, but there's only one rational choice.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to I grew up reading a lot of comic books as a kid, and Spider-Man was a big favorite of mine, and major quote is, with great power comes great responsibility. And to me, even just one voice it's immensely powerful, and that's why I've kind of taken a lot of the roads I've done. Like I said, I said last year I ran for office at just 22 because I thought maybe I could make a difference, and I still think I can. I still want to try to, because
yes, you should.
I want to.
You very much for running for office. I don't know what you ran for, local sheriff or local public officer or senator or whatever it was you ran for. County, state or whatever it was. I don't know what you ran for. You ran for public office. I think it's a wonderful experience for any young person. I've done it myself at a local council level. I was election agent for an MP for a Green Party, so it doesn't count. But I've done it. I've certainly recommend it to everybody. Getting out, meeting the public, shaking their hands, hearing their troubles, can't be equalled. I don't know if you agree.
Oh yeah, I think that's It's something that needs to be done more and by more people. Too many people, I feel, are like... one of the issues when I ran, because I ran for, it was a local office. It was a county office. Like a county council, essentially.
County council, that's it.
Yeah, county supervisor, but it's essentially the council for the county. And when I ran, a lot of people I talked to who were really passionate about it, I asked, well, why aren't you running? Why don't you throw your hand in the, you know? And they're just like, oh, well, there's not enough money in it, or all these other things. It's just kind of like, well, I'm doing it because, you know, it's a responsibility. I'm not planning to make a career out of it, but it's a service. I look at it the same way a lot of people look at the military is. It's a service, you know.
Absolutely. It's part of your job as a citizen.
Yeah.
Yes. At some point to run. Like you say, you've got to speak, you've got to run, you've got to, you can act, you can do some, what you can do is whistle a tune or wave a banner, you do that. It's all part of democracy. If you ever stop participating in it, there's no democracy. So, big ups to you for running.
Thanks, and
do it again one day.
For you too, for stepping up and doing that in your area.
Oh, there you go. Get on with it. Right, I think I've had enough now. I'm shaking bits a little bit too much. Time for me to withdraw. Time for me to retreat.
That's fine. We, my fiance and I, we're going to try to do one last date as a not married couple, so we'll give us time to do that. So, thank you for joining us, or me rather.
Amy, to Amy, and well, very well. I don't suppose I'll be hearing from you for a while. You'll be on honeymoon or whatever. And well, good luck to you, Mitchell.
Yes, thank you again, Bruce, for joining me. I apologize again to everyone for my mess up on my mic, but we got to hear everything you said, Bruce, and I'm pretty sure they got the context of what I was saying. So, have a good one. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Cheerio.
Bye.
Ta.